Have you ever noticed that you can be sitting in a crowded, noisy room surrounded by people, yet feel incredibly, painfully alone? Or perhaps on a bright weekend, instead of going out to a loud party or a crowded cafe, the thought of staying in your room with a hot cup of coffee and a good book sounds like absolute heaven to you. Friends and family might frequently tell you that you are boring, that you need to get out more, that you need to socialize and be normal. Society might have labeled you as antisocial, aloof, arrogant, or just plain weird. But the truth is, you are none of those things. You are simply someone who finds their greatest peace, their safest sanctuary within their own company. Today, we are going to dive deep into the fascinating psychology of people who genuinely love to be alone, people who do not fear the silence, but rather find their truest existence within it. Let us dig a little deeper into this. Humans are by fundamental nature social creatures. Since the dawn of evolution, we have learned to live in tribes and groups simply for the sake of survival. But even amidst this deep-rooted need for connection, why do some individuals actively choose solitude? Society often assumes that those who isolate themselves are depressed, lonely, or universally disliked. However, psychology tells a completely different and far more interesting story. The minds of those who voluntarily seek solitude and the way they perceive the world around them function very differently from the average person. There is a fascinating neurological reason behind this preference, and it is directly linked to a chemical in our brain called dopamine. For extroverted individuals, their brains experience a surge of joy and excitement when they meet new people, engage in novel experiences, or immerse themselves in large crowds. They require a much higher threshold of dopamine to feel rewarded. But for those who love being alone, often introverts, their brains are highly sensitive to dopamine. When they are thrown into a busy, noisy environment, their nervous system becomes quickly overstimulated, which leaves them feeling exhausted and drained rather than energized. Instead, their brains rely much more heavily on a different neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. This chemical is released when we are deep in thought, intensely focused on a task, or spending quiet time reflecting on our inner world. Therefore, when you are alone, you are not merely doing nothing. Your brain is actually resting, recovering, and recharging in its most preferred state. Many people fail to understand the crucial distinction between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a deeply negative and painful emotion. It is a state of distress where a person craves connection and the company of others, but cannot find it. You can easily suffer from intense loneliness even while standing in the middle of a crowded room. Solitude, on the other hand, is a positive, constructive, and voluntarily chosen state. It is the pure joy of being alone with yourself. Individuals who know how to enjoy their own company are often much more emotionally stable and self-reliant. They do not depend on external validation, other people, or specific circumstances to dictate their happiness or self-worth. If you observe closely, you will notice that a person who loves being alone often enjoys talking to themselves. Their internal world is so vast, colorful, and incredibly rich that the superficial noise of the outside world often feels like an unnecessary distraction. They have the remarkable ability to dive deep into their own thoughts. They can analyze the most ordinary, mundane aspects of life with a level of depth and perspective that others might find impossible to comprehend. Through extensive research, psychologists have found that people who prefer solitude possess an exceptionally high degree of self-awareness. They have a crystal-clear understanding of their own strengths, their deepest vulnerabilities, their emotional triggers, their angers, and their fears. This happens because when you are truly alone, there are no mirrors, no audiences, and no masks to hide behind. You do not have to put on an act to win someone's approval or prove your worth to society. You are forced to stand face to face with your raw, unfiltered self. And confronting oneself is a terrifying prospect that the vast majority of people simply lack the courage to do. Many individuals are terrified of being alone, because the moment the noise stops, their suppressed pain, their lingering guilt, their unresolved past traumas, or their uncomfortable thoughts begin to chase them. Consequently, they constantly seek out crowds, mindlessly chat with friends, or endlessly scroll through social media just to silence their own minds. But those who love solitude have already fought those battles. They have learned to make peace with their darker sides. They have acknowledged their scars, and in the process have become their own best friends. Another significant reason behind this preference is empathy, the profound ability to understand and absorb the feelings of others. Many people who love to be alone are also highly sensitive persons, or empaths. This means their nervous systems are wired to rapidly absorb the emotional energy of the people around them. When they interact with others, they subconsciously take on that person's pain, joy, frustration, or negative energy. This is precisely why you might notice that people find it remarkably easy to open up to them, offloading all their life's sorrows and leaving feeling much lighter. However, carrying this emotional baggage belonging to others completely drains these highly sensitive individuals. Their nervous systems process so much sensory and emotional data from their environment that even a simple social gathering can leave their brains entirely exhausted. To recover this lost mental energy, they must retreat back to the sanctuary of their solitude. For them, this isolation is not a punishment, it is an absolute necessity for survival and mental self-preservation. Now let us look back at their childhoods. Why does someone develop such an introverted nature? In many cases, the seeds are sown in deep, early experiences or subtle traumas. It is possible that they grew up in an environment where there was no one available to truly listen to them, understand their complex emotions, or validate their importance. The ignored child often grows up to embrace solitude as a familiar friend. Out of sheer necessity, they learned at a young age how to self-soothe, how to entertain themselves, and how to find comfort in their own minds. Alternatively, they might have learned early on that depending on others or placing high expectations on people ultimately leads to nothing but disappointment and pain. As a result, they have built a sturdy, invisible wall around themselves. They have learned the hard lesson that if they stay alone, at the very least, no one can inflict new wounds, no one can betray their trust again. It acts as a powerful defense mechanism, a shield protecting their inner peace. But does this mean they do not know how to love? Are they truly cold and emotionless? Absolutely not. In fact, the exact opposite is true. Those who prefer to be alone are often far more loyal, trustworthy, and deeply committed in relationships than the average person. They might not have 1,000 friends on Facebook, and their inner circle might consist of only 2 or 3 carefully chosen individuals, but for those select few, they are willing to sacrifice everything. They do not easily allow just anyone to breach their invisible walls. This is primarily because they absolutely despise small talk. Casual conversations about the weather, office politics, or gossiping about others feel excruciatingly boring and like a massive waste of precious time to them. Instead, they crave deep, authentic, spiritual connections. They seek a partner or a friend with whom they can freely discuss the meaning of life, the mysteries of the universe, the complexities of human psychology, or their own deepest fears without any hesitation or judgment. And when they finally find someone who understands that depth, they prove to be the most caring, fiercely protective, and loyal companions on earth. They do not abandon relationships easily. Rather, they know how to value a true connection through any storm. When they are obligated to attend social events or step into a crowded room, their behavior is remarkably sharp and observant. They never try to be the center of attention or the life of the party. They will usually find a quiet corner and sit peacefully, but from that quiet corner, their observant eyes are intensely analyzing everyone in the room. They know who is glancing at whom, who is flashing a fake smile, and who is desperately pretending to be happy while hurting inside. They can read the entire dynamic of the room without saying a single word. Their ability to read body language and intuitively understand human psychology is almost God-given. Furthermore, in the realms of career and creative work, their talents are often extraordinary and enviable. If you flip through the pages of history, you will find many of the world's greatest writers, visionary scientists, brilliant painters, legendary composers, and profound philosophers were passionate lovers of solitude. From Nikola Tesla to Albert Einstein, countless renowned figures preferred to lock their doors and spend days entirely alone. This is because the human brain reaches its absolute peak of creativity only when there are no interruptions, no distractions, and no unwanted noise from the outside world. People who spend time alone have the unique capacity to focus intensely on a single problem, diving far deeper and analyzing it from completely different, unconventional perspectives than the average person ever could. However, this intense desire to be alone can have negative consequences if taken to an extreme. Completely isolating oneself from society and detaching from the real world is never a sign of robust mental health. Occasionally interacting with others, learning new perspectives, listening to experiences outside of one's own mind, and stepping out of that safe, comfortable shell are also essential for continuous personal growth. But at the end of the day, after all the work is done and the social obligations are met, the sheer, unadulterated relief of returning to your familiar room, closing the door, and breathing a deep sigh of peace is a feeling that no luxurious party or vibrant social gathering could ever replicate. Society operates on a very strange, unspoken rule. It has always overwhelmingly valued extroverted individuals. The person who speaks the loudest, who commands the room, who effortlessly mingles with everyone, is automatically deemed successful, smart, and attractive. Meanwhile, the person who remains quiet, who keeps to themselves, is quickly and unfairly judged as weird, awkward, or depressed. But what this noise-addicted society consistently fails to see is the massive storm, the expansive sky, and the boundless ocean of thought hidden just beneath the calm surface of these quiet individuals. Their silence is in no way a sign of weakness, ignorance, or failure. It is in fact their greatest psychological strength. They know exactly when to speak, where to pause, and when to remain completely silent. Unlike many, they do not speak simply to shatter the silence or to grab cheap attention. They only open their mouths when they are absolutely certain that their words are more valuable, more meaningful, and more profound than the silence they are breaking. So, if you are someone who cherishes your solitude above almost everything else, if you genuinely enjoy spending your weekend lying in bed watching a movie rather than hitting a loud club, never feel ashamed of who you are. If someone tells you that you need to socialize more, that you need to change your personality, or that your life is boring, simply smile and ignore them. You have absolutely no obligation to alter your fundamental nature based on their loud opinions. You are completely whole exactly as you are. Your deep love for solitude is not a mental disorder or a personality flaw. Rather, it is an incredibly rare and valuable gift. In this modern world, where everyone is desperately screaming for attention and obsessively showcasing fake lifestyles on social media, the sheer ability to enjoy your own company, to find profound peace within yourself, is nothing short of a superpower. Embrace and utilize this superpower. Continue to enrich your magnificent inner world. Read challenging books, learn new skills, spend quiet time in nature, and relentlessly pursue your passions. Learn to deeply respect and unconditionally love yourself, because at the end of the day, you are the only person who is guaranteed to be with you until your very last breath. Always remember that choosing to be alone does not mean you are lonely or suffering from isolation. You are entirely complete on your own, and your quiet, steady presence is far more powerful and meaningful than 1,000 voices creating empty noise.